Meeting to order at 6:01. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll begin with the approval of the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike. Any changes? We need to add a resignation for Sarah Andrews under personnel. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
I'll make the motion with the changes.
All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda with that additional change, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Amanda, Meredith, Lisa?
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimous. General public comment. Does anyone here from the public wish to speak tonight? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from October 26th. Are there any changes to the minutes?
On page, I believe 4, can I borrow your?
Oh, absolutely.
I used to always make a motion, but she always changes something.
So just wait.
Yep.
Under frontline update, there's just a little grammatical error on the fourth line. It says, is actively looking for people. I think it just should have the word for between looking and people. And then the other part that I wasn't sure was actually accurate was the after-school program rate. I believe I was under the impression that the southern schools pay $15 per hour for regular staff and $20 per hour for the coordinator, and that the northern schools that use Tapestry don't pay that amount. And that's not how it's reflected here. Is that correct, Louis?
What you stated is correct.
Okay, so that should be changed to reflect that the southern schools pay $15 per hour for regular staff and $20 per hour for the coordinator, and that Tapestry rates are higher, I believe is what was stated, or different?
Different.
Different, okay. And also Eric had said that it's not the SU that pays, it's the local board that pays,
Correct.
which is not how it's written here either. So I just wanted to make sure that was corrected so that when someone else is reading this, they know the facts.
Now, will you?
Now I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
With those corrections?
with those corrections. Did you have a question?
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes with those changes?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. All right, we have two warrants, warrant 282 and 280. Is there an approval for these warrants?
I'll make a motion to approve warrants.
Motion by Lynette. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving those warrants?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. All right, superintendent's report.
Yeah, as it states, it's informational. This is really just the same information you received at your local boards. The one thing I just want to remind everyone is that our next strategic plan meeting will be, I just want to make sure, it's February 6th. Yeah, it's February 6th, 5 to 7 p.m. at West Rutland School. So any community member, parents who would like to participate, staff member, please just, reach out to myself, Christine McGinnis, or your local building administrator. You're more than welcome to attend. So, and one other thing, and we'll have more information next month, but next week on December 5th, Secretary Fretch is doing 2 school visits. I'll be visiting Wells Village School and Pulteney High School on Monday, just part of his regular tour around, but just want to kind of just see some of the great things we have going on in our schools. So
Oh, nice.
we'll have more of an update there. So.
I just wanted to point out, Chris, that Billy Canfield's term is 2 years, not 3.
Okay. We will get that corrected.
I had a question. Has Secretary French visited Pulteney High School or Wells Village School at all?
In the past, I'm not certain if he has. or
Not that
hasn't, so.
Not
I
that
guess since you've been
I've never heard
superintendent.
any.
No, I think
I'm, at least since 2017, since I've been doing
Like
this.
that.
my first year when I was at Proctor, Secretary French came down to Proctor, and I think it was another school in the SU, but I think as he goes around, visits, SUs and districts, just we'll pick, just random schools, just kind of see what the things were going on. I know this is around ARPA, the recovery plan funds, and just want to see what's going on in our schools. So.
All right. And I think it's
I
gonna-
know that the past couple of years, he really hasn't had an opportunity, obviously, with COVID, so I think now is,
Yeah.
he wants to get back in schools and just kind of visit, just, talk to building administrators, staff, and just see how he could be more supportive, so.
Will you be accompanying him?
I will, yes. I will be there. I've asked Lisa Madison to join us as well, so, yep. Yes.
All right. Are there any questions for the superintendent? All right. We'll move on to assistant superintendent's report. I guess it's the same thing, informational. Any questions for the assistant superintendent or any updates?
Hi, Eric. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So sorry, there's something wrong with the camera on my computer. It worked fine this afternoon, but of course it won't work now. But good evening, everyone. I just wanted to highlight the second page of my report. In August, when we gave you an update on our summer curriculum work, you had asked me to come back in November after most of our groups had met to do their work this fall to give you another update on where we're at. And I tried to capture that update on our second report. The teacher teams that have come and worked with our coaches have just truly been really dedicated and focused. They've gotten an amazing amount of work done and have brought it back to their colleagues for ongoing conversation. So we are just about done. We had a couple groups that needed a second day, or there was a key member who was ill on the day that we had to reschedule. So we have 2 groups that have meetings scheduled for early December just to finish up what they're doing. And another group that will probably just schedule an after-school meeting one day to finish up. And after that, we will be completely done with having working drafts of unpacked standards for all curriculum content, core classes, and electives, K to 12, which feels like an amazing step forward for us and really exciting work going on. And then the groups, of course, are meeting in their across SU curriculum teams. They meet once a month, and that's for all content areas. And they have the groups that had drafts already working have been refining them and making comments, making adjustments, making edits. And the groups that are finishing up drafting now are going to continue that work throughout their PLCs this year. And I'll plan to come back again in a couple more months and give you another update to just let you know where we are. But as of now, we are on track for having completed drafts by the end of the year and ready to roll for the fall.
May I ask you a couple questions, Lisa?
Sure.
The first question is, I was just curious from your standpoint, how the MTSS support, or how that program's going with across the SU.
Sure. So we have rolled out a couple different components of the MTSS system this year, key components. We gave sort of big picture framework training to all administrators over the summer, to EST teams in the summer and the fall, and then to all teachers over the course of our in-service days. So everybody's had kind of a, here's the big picture of what the system is and where it's going, introduction. We revamped and unified our EST system process. So all of our schools have a consistent way of holding EST meetings and looking at students at risk and prioritizing needs, assigning additional interventions and supports. And that's been really exciting. We have a new FastBridge system which is a screening diagnostic tool. It's got kind of two pieces that it does. One is like a screener that targets specific foundational skills to see if there are skill gaps. And the second piece of it is a progress monitoring tool, and that allows teachers or interventionists to set a specific goal for a student and to use that tool to assess a student's progress toward that goal. So to see if they're moving along, whatever they're trying to do to help that student is making a difference. The MTSS team has met with both administrators and interventionists and continues to roll out resources and support.
Bless you.
Coming up at our December in-service, we have EduClimber training, and EduClimber is the platform that now houses all of our ESTs and also the platform that houses all of our data. And so we've been training people along the way, but we're going to have a formal training for everybody coming up on Friday, where all of them will get experience in using that system. We have some additional, we're providing like, how do I want to explain it? It's like a choose your own pathway for in-service, but it's choices out of pieces that are related to the MTSS system. So teachers at all levels have some options around if they feel like they need additional training and support in FastBridge, they can go to that session. If they feel like they need additional support in EST process, they can go to that session. If they feel like they need additional support in EduClimber, they can go to that session. But all of those are the pieces and components of the system. So trying to meet people where they are. So is that what you're looking for, Tina?
Yeah. And from your perspective, has it been a pretty smooth implementation? Has it been challenging? What's your assessment on that?
Well, I think we knew that it was going to be a challenge because we knew it was a very large implementation and a very large shift for everybody, and that a lot of the training was going to happen once the school year took off already. So we were kind of learning as we go. Some people are more comfortable with that than others, I think. But I think our administrative team is excited about what's happening in their schools, the conversations that they're having with teachers, the work that's being done with students. And I think that everyone seems to see the value. Teachers are excited to be having these conversations. We've talked as a board about the tier 2 and tier 3 or layer 2 and layer 3 supports like interventionists and how we don't have equitable access to those across the supervisory union at this time. And that makes implementation trickier in some places than in others, depending on their resources. So I think it's going well. I think everything is moving forward and we're making progress all the time. But it's definitely a big lift. So it's taken our whole team and a lot of energy and focus to get it off the ground.
And we also implemented the curriculum changes too. Has that been smooth or has that been difficult as well?
Yeah, so what we did with curriculum was we have been asking people to use the documents as working documents and make edits as they go. So I think that there's more flexibility with that for people because the groups are all in different places after our summer work. Our principals have been focusing on the learning target piece of that work, and so when they're doing walkthroughs, they're looking for learning targets. They're going back and looking at the standards documents that we've developed and making sure that the standards they're seeing in classrooms as learning targets are what's reflected in our priorities. If it's not, they're having conversations with teachers and trying to bring those documents front and center in that work that they're doing. So I'd say that's definitely in the beginning phases, but also the right place to start with that work.
Great. And I think just the last thing I was wondering, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but you always have a lot of information in your reports, and because we don't see your reports at our monthly meetings locally, it's just when it comes on the same day as the meeting, it's hard to absorb all of it and really kind of digest everything that you put in there. And I was just curious if it was possible to put it with the original delivery of materials for the meetings instead of the day of every month.
Sure, yeah, I didn't realize you guys didn't get that till today, but yeah, I can work with Christine to try to work on the timing of that better.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Lisa, and thanks for the curriculum update. All right, we'll move on to personnel. We have, I think it's 2 contract recommendations. Well, you look for a motion to approve those contract recommendations.
I'll make a motion to approve them. For Christina Perry and Amelia Harlow.
Thank you. I did have a question for, it's a bus monitor.
Yeah, Portland High School bus monitor.
Is that a new position? Or is that like existing? And I'm curious because it says, special education on there. And
I do believe there, Bill, you want to, there. Oh, you're muted, Bill.
Still muted.
Sorry. Eric, it's a new position that we're hiring out of need.
Okay, that was kind of what I was, like, how does these new positions that are special education related, how does that, I guess, factor in with the block grant style funding? Does it end up getting, like,
This
charged
one
back?
right here, Eric, would be, it's actually more of excess cost, so we pay up to a certain amount, about $65,000, and everything over is still reimbursable, so it doesn't factor into that block grant. They still have the excess cost that we can apply to.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, that's all I had. All those in favor of approving the contract recommendations, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand online. All right, motion carries unanimous. Open positions, informational. And then we have a resignation for Sarah Andrews. Is there a motion to accept her resignation?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Finance. Lewis.
So do we want to go right into budget, or if there's any questions on the monthly reports? Okay.
Yep.
So in the packet, there was a few pieces of material. There was the summer analysis, which we talked about last month, and there was a request to put some additional information. So I did add that one column at the end, which was the cost per student based on each program. So if there's any questions on that, just feel free to ask those. And then we also included a list of federally funded employees, and so how they're funded, by which grant, what percentage they're funded, and if they're funded out of 2 different grants, that all that information is there. Any questions on those before we go into budget? And these are things that we've seen in previous months in the packet, so it's just an update on those. So looking at budget, we're looking at the third draft today. So the first page is a summary of changes, and I'll go over some of the changes since draft 1, since this tonight might be the last night we're looking at this. So looking at the general fund first, there's no changes since the second draft. So the budget for the general fund budget is the same as it was last month. I think we do have some updates to discuss in executive session, but at this time, there's no updates to the amount. So currently, the general fund is up by $22,000, which is 1.2%. Included in that is the increase in health insurance, which is currently estimated at 12.7%. That is approximately $25,000. There is also, I'm sorry, 25,000 was for the special ed. It's for general fund. Oh, yeah, just 25,000 as well. For also included is an increase in our rent. We'll be talking about that more in executive session. And there is a 0.4 total FTE is a 0.4 reduction in the general fund, which is resulting in some of the savings, keeping the budget at where it is today. You can see more information on page 3 on how the current general fund budget is affecting your central office assessment. So it does affect everybody differently, and that's based on the assessment allocations. Those assessment allocations are on page 2. It's based on ADM from the prior year. So if your district's ADM increased more than everybody else's ADM, then you may be paying a bigger piece of that assessment, and vice versa. So it's all based on those allocations. So even though, I mean, if we were looking at a flat budget, you still may not be looking at a flat assessment. If your ADM went up, you may be paying more, and if your ADM went down, you may be paying less, and everybody else is shifting. So there's two moving pieces. It's both your allocation percentage as well as the actual budget increase. And you can see those in a couple different places in the budget. So on page 2, you can see what your ADM was for the last year, which is being used for this budget, as well as what it was in the prior years. I do have 3 years worth of activity there. You could also see the actual dollar amounts on page 3. And then on page 5, you can see those dollar amounts and those percentages as well at the very bottom there, and how your individual district is being impacted. Any questions on the general fund budget before we go into the special ed budget? All of the changes since draft 1 are on the first page, and it is broken out by section. So you can look at draft 1 general fund, draft 2 general fund, and see the progression of the budget through the 3 drafts that we've gone through.
I don't have any questions. Anyone have any questions on it?
Okay. So looking at special ed, which is the next big piece, the assessments work the same way. Rather than using ADM, we're using child count. We use the prior year child count, so there's a count that's done in December of each year. We're using last December's count. And the reason we do that is because we don't have current data to be able to use, and we don't want to hold up the budget process. So when we first merged, we decided on using prior year data rather than current year data, so that we're not holding up the budget process, waiting for that data to be able to create those assessments. So on page 2, you can see what your district's child counts are, and the change. I showed 3 years worth of data so that you can kind of see where your child count has come from and gone, and where it's going, and see how your assessment allocations have changed. There was a change that we made that we talked about last month with Act 173. We made the decision to eliminate the special ed bill backs and put that all into the special ed budget. So there's actually 2 pieces you need to look at this year to really get the full scope of where special ed budget is. And so you need to look at the special ed assessment as well as the special ed bill backs and net those 2 of them together. Because you're seeing a significant decrease in the special ed bill backs and then an increase in the assessment, and they're offsetting each other. Overall, right now, special ed budget, the net assessment is down by $137,000. That is a change from last month of about $71,000. Bill requested that we put in 1 more special educator just to be conservative. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Bill can talk to that. We talked about last month, we did see a reduction in open positions in our special ed budget. And so just to be conservative, we did put another special ed educator in there because we feel like, Bill was feeling that things were tight. And Bill, I'll let you talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that is a position that we had initially were looking to cut, so it wasn't like we're adding one. So Bill had looked to bring one of those positions back that we initially were looking to cut. So, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that, we're right on the cusp. Hopefully we don't have to fill it, but, I thought it was prudent to put in, just given the numbers. We're right on that cusp of needing one more, not needing one more, so I thought given the reduction, it was a prudent thing to do to put one more teacher in the SU budget.
If you go to the last page of the budget, it's just miscellaneous data, and you can see our staffing for special ed. And so we are still down significantly in positions. These were open positions that we're not filling. And that's one of the reasons that's resulting in the net decrease in the special ed assessment. So you can find that assessment, again, on page 3. You're going to want to look at your district, and then you're going to want to net the two lines, the special ed assessment and the special ed bill back, and to get the true impact of how special ed is impacting your individual districts. If you want to see, again, just the assessment piece, you can look on page 9 at the bottom, and you can see 3 years worth of history on the assessment, the FY22 actuals, FY23 budgeted, and FY24 assessment, as well as that percentage. So currently, the assessment, the net, when I say the net assessment, it's both the assessment and those bill backs that is down by $137,000. Any questions on special ed? Again, on page 1, you can see all of the history since draft 1 of all those changes. And the only change since last month was that adding one of those cut special ed cases back in. Everything else, all those other changes were made prior to this draft.
No questions? Great.
I think, was that all you have?
That's unless there's questions, that's really all I have for now, and then I think we have some personnel discussions in the executive session, but those are really all the updates to this. Typically, we have approved the budget in November, and that's mainly just so that we have final numbers for your local budgets, because then we'll start looking at finalizing those local budgets in December or early January. And then I also note that the SU meeting usually is in Christmas week, so so I know the board has in the past done it in November, but if the board feels like there is not enough data here or needs more time to decide, December will definitely be the final. Yep.
Louis, I just have a question on the third page, and the middle column that says FY23 assessment for IRA. Is that whole column supposed to be FY23, I assume? And then the middle is FY24 and then variance?
That's correct. That's a typo. Yeah, the
Okay,
whole
so
column is supposed to be FY23.
23. Okay, I assumed that, but I just want to make sure.
All right, well, we'll, if there's no other questions, we'll finish up the budget discussion most likely after we come out of executive session. All right, we'll move on to policy. So we have 2 policies in here that will be going back to the committee, G5 and F21. But they are there if anyone had additional input on those policies. If not, there would be a motion to adopt E7.
I'll make a motion to adopt
E7.
E7.
Any discussion on this policy? All those in favor of adopting E7?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay, one opposed. Motion carries. And for the other remaining policies, we have,
You say it?
I don't think he saw you.
Two, sorry.
oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry, that's 2. F2, G4, and H3. Actually, F2 is going back to committee, right? I think you sent that back as well.
BF2 would be
We
next,
did.
wouldn't it?
F2 is going back also?
Yeah,
Okay.
F2's going back up also?
yeah.
Just to make sure it's not repetitive.
Okay.
The
I'm
the
pretty
Rutland
sure-
Town
I'm
Board
pretty
had.
sure it is.
And also to change the he or she to a they
Yeah, yeah.
on that one.
They or them?
I think in that part of it.
I'm being a
they-
wise guy.
Oh.
All right. So, no additional input on the other first read policies?
On G4, there were some grammatical,
Yes. Yeah,
but I think you got them
I
from
got
the
those.
Rutland Town minutes. So,
I can send you what I have to, but, okay. So we do need an executive session.
Business first, right?
Before we do are we skipping over the new business or next meeting date?
Yeah, there's no new business on there, and I think we can address the next meeting date after we finish up the budget discussions.
But can I make a motion to add an agenda item for the next meeting?
Yeah, well, we can do that after we,
After
yeah,
executive,
after we
okay.
come out of executive and finish up the budget discussion and finish out the meeting with that, if that's all right.
I'll make a motion to go in executive session for personnel.
And negotiating and securing real estate purchase
Yeah,
or
something like that.
lease options.
Okay.
All right, motion by Lynette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We're in executive session at 6:33.